Hello and welcome to tutorial 4 of this HTML basics tutorial series. In this tutorial I'm going to cover two things: doctypes and validation. So starting with doctypes. Doctypes is basically a few lines of code that tells the browser what language you're using in your document. So if we go to the code, you'll be able to see it goes at the very start of your document before the HTML tag, and there's no need to remember them, because if you go to this PDF document that I had opened before, which by the way there'll be a link in the video description of how you download this, it basically gives you doctypes, the doctype that we're going to be using for this tutorial, so you can just copy and paste it. It also gives you other ones like the transitional version and other ones like that, but that's doctypes. I would go into more detail, but it does say more detail in the PDF. The second thing I want to talk about is validation, another boring subject. Basically, it allows you to see if your code will work, not only work, but work on any platform, any browser, the way you want it to. So if you go to understandtutorials.com/HTML validator, that will redirect you to the W3 schools validator. In a second you will see, and you're able, if you've got it uploaded to a website, which doesn't matter if you haven't, we'll do that in a much later tutorial, one of the final tutorials. You can upload your file, so that file that we created last tutorial, you could upload that, or if you follow the steps in the first part of this tutorial, talking about doctypes and setting up your document, you should have code that looks like this in your document. You could validate that. However, you could also just direct input it into it. So if we just do that now, if I grab this code and copy it, put it into the validator and check it, it should, luckily, come up with a pass. If it doesn't come up with a pass, then it will tell you your errors, or I've got two warnings on this, but warnings are okay. It's when this bar is red, that's when you have a problem, and it should be very easy to when this bar is red, that's when you have a problem, but it should be quite simple to fix, because it tells you where your problems are, what lines they're on, and that's why we use Notepad++, because it gives you line breaks and things. You can see actually it won't validate very well without, so if we just had it like we did in the previous tutorial, take out the doctype altogether and close the HTML tag, so we just have that little bit, and we revalidate it, you will see that it fails to validate. One error, basically telling me it doesn't know what sort of document it is. If you want to read more about it, validation, then there is a little bit more in that PDF document, but I haven't gone into too much detail. It's just because I find it boring and pointless, but apparently it's better if you validate it than if you just leave it with loads of errors in. But to me, if it works on 3 or 4 browsers that you test it on, what's the point in validating it if you know that it works? It's just, and they're just little petty little things. But yes, if you go to this document and create this file, call it whatever you want, then go to the next tutorial when it's up, which should be soon, then you'll be all set, ready to start creating your first website. Thanks for watching tutorial 4, covering doctypes and validation. In tutorial 5 we'll be covering style, for example font size, font color, etc. as well as links and images, so we have more than just text-based websites which look pretty boring.